This podcast is produced by Passion Nerdly in association with the Nerds Domain and our parent network, the Southgate Media Group. This podcast could not exist without their support or from support by Patreons like you. For more information on how you can get involved, visit passionnerdly.com.
Good evening and welcome to this episode of Pattern Recognition, our Fringe rewatch podcast. This week we're looking at Season 1, Episode 6, The Cure.
The Cure.
Not the band.
No.
What songs did The Cure do?
It's Friday I'm in Love. You know, got used in that movie where Einstein's daughter or granddaughter is dating. You know, I don't remember much about it.
IQ? Was that that movie?
Yeah, IQ, there you go. It was a big hit for that. It was, from what I remember, I think there was like something odd about the radio play with
that was really popular.
Yeah. But I remember that one being really big because it was the second time a song charted, years apart. Because it charted when it first came out, and then it charted again because of that movie.
I think it's Love Song.
Okay.
That I know.
All right.
But don't ask me to sing it because I don't think I could do it.
But
anyway, we were on episode 6 of season 1, as I said. The episode is called The Cure, and the IMDb synopsis for this is, a number of people in a diner die of radiation exposure, and Olivia and the Bishops believe a woman who disappeared 2 weeks earlier was the source.
Mm-hmm.
It's been a week since we watched this, so I'm glad that we watched that synopsis has refreshed my memory.
Yeah. Oh, and the thing is that honestly, though, thinking of the synopsis and as well as where this show ends up going, there's no teaser in that. You know, in my opinion,
not really.
You know, because this show really takes you on this episode, I should say, takes you on a really good roller coaster for this one. Oh yeah.
Okay.
Because I mean, You have that lady. If I you don't mind me.
No, please
saying,
go.
That lady is thrown out of a vehicle and by some guys in hazmat suits.
Yeah.
And she's just dumped in the middle of a street, and she walks down the street to Holly's diner. And I mean, I'll let you cover more of this, but one of the things that happens with her is that she has no memory. She's got a form of amnesia.
Yeah.
All she knows is that she was born in Boston. And that they did things, and she mentions red medicine and something blue.
Right.
And then crazy
go
stuff.
Ahead and describe the scene.
Crazy stuff starts to happen. But so she goes into this diner called, Holly's Diner, meets a, waiter. I don't remember what the waiter's name was.
I don't know if we got his name.
One of the few names we got was a character called Marty. They're like, hey, call Marty when this lady walks in.
Yeah.
And I got to say, kind of the right thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
Marty shows up, and Marty is a cop.
Mm-hmm.
Because this lady looks like she's been beaten.
She looks like she's been pretty badly torn up.
And she's hungry, though, and they're giving her food. I mean, everything, you get a lot of empathy for the characters in this scene. Mm-hmm. And she brings up all these things. She has no memory. All she remembers, born in Boston. She says, they did things to me. There was a red medicine. And she starts talking about they. But the question is, who are they? I think even the police officer asks that. Marty asks.
Right, yeah.
Who
he
are
wants to know.
they?
And he wants her to... The problem is he starts to get a little aggressive. I mean, I don't know if he realized he was getting aggressive, but when he's like, I think you need to come with me, that is not the way to approach someone who is potential. I mean, I guess he didn't know that she had likely been abducted, but knowing that she has no memory and she's been beaten or she's showing signs of trauma, and
he
then
cuffs her.
He cuffs her. Yeah,
because
she gets a little erratic, but she has just been abducted and returned very roughly. Mm-hmm. But as this goes on, everybody's the music is building in intensity. I even believe there's kind of a high-pitched whine at this part, which I don't know if that was just in the music or if we're supposed to believe that was happening inside the diner. But you see the waiter and the cook and the other people, the other patrons and diners, their eyes start to bleed. And their noses are bleeding and their eyes are kind of melting out of their heads.
Yeah. And so you get this idea, okay, this is some kind of disease. This is some sort of,
because it's happening to her
attack.
too. Because as she's freaking out, the cop starts to also do it. Trying to see, but yeah, she starts to bleed from her eyes. And as she backs up away from the cop and everybody else she's screaming, what's going on? What's happening to me? And she goes up against the window of the camera suddenly outside and her head bursts.
Yeah, her head bursts. And so this in my opinion is probably since the first episode where we see that return to kind of, I don't want to say gore, but definitely over the top kind of.
Yeah, it felt like a supernatural opener.
Yeah.
I am going to take a moment just to note here that I've gone back and I've listened to some of our earlier episodes, and I realized in the first episode I said I wasn't going to do minute-by-minute synopses, and that is exactly what we ended up doing. So we might try to condense a little bit and not go necessarily play-by-play, and hopefully it's not boring you to death, but we will go through the rest of the plot here. So that was the opener. And then we're immediately jumped into Walter and Peter and Olivia investigating the diner. And I've got some Walterisms written down, but I'm going to save those for the end because he kind of had some quippy ones here at the beginning. But go ahead.
Well, the introduction of the victim's name, I believe it was Emily Kramer.
Emily Kramer, yeah. And this is the first time anyone has seen her. All have been exposed to radiation. Her levels were 3 times everyone else's.
Yep.
And they kept referring to, was it Bellini's lymphedema? I meant to look that up and I didn't, but I think they called it Bellini's. But it's an autoimmune disease that, there is no cure for. But her records state that she seemed to have been cured before she went missing. So,
insert the name right there is they look up records and it is Dr. Patel.
Yeah. Well, before that we have, I guess they find it out there, but we also have Walter stabbing the cop's brain, and he determines that the brain was boiling. So we have some. Because his temperature, he'd been dead quite a while, and his temperature was quite high.
Yeah, he stick it through the eye, or down the thing in the eye, or do you remember where he stuck it?
No, I'm pretty sure the cop was just flat, like he'd laid over the counter.
Yeah,
and I think Walter just took a meat thermometer and went in the back of his head, and then requested soup.
Yeah, onion soup, and
he wanted the onion soup, which the joke earlier in the episode was, do you want me to give her some onion soup? And he says, no, the vegetable. Nobody likes the onion soup.
Which I think is hilarious because I don't know if that's like a play on the fact that somebody thinks nobody likes onion soup, because I actually like onion soup.
No, I think the joke is that I think the point is that the onion soup at that diner is awful.
Oh.
I don't mind French onion soup either, but yeah. So then, as John mentioned, Dr. Patel, they go and talk to Dr. Patel, and lo and behold. Yes, she was cured, and he has no idea how.
Yeah.
Convenient.
Very much so, and it played they play up that scene very short, but at the same time it has that kind of cop drama moment.
It was very quick, because I see in my notes I am immediately back to the lab, and
it was like that flash jump. They were only there to confirm that one detail.
To confirm the diagnosis and to see if he knew anything about it, which he claimed he did not. He just knew that she had been cured. So then we get back to the lab, and Walter, I almost called him Arthur for some reason, Walter notes that she smells like hyacinth. Emily Kramer does, her body does. And so he says, ironic, because hyacinth is usually associated with rebirth. And so either they're asking why she smells that way, and he says, well, it's either a genetic mutation or she's been eating flowers. So that's kind of just a little tidbit to like tuck away for later. She'd clearly been drugged and held captive
Yeah, she had wounds on her arms or something like that. Yeah.
And so Walter surmises, being a scientist, he surmises that she was clearly involved in lab trials, and when they released her, it was a field trial. There's only so much you can do in a lab, so they dumped her on the streets. And so they're expecting that whoever did it is likely going to leave another soon.
Yeah.
Do you have anything you wanted to add?
Not really. I mean, it was such a quick scene there as well. Although they did also mention that there were signs of injections on her arm as well.
Yeah. No, that's how they knew she'd been involved in clinical trials.
Yep.
So they find that there is another person with Bellini's lymphedema that has gone missing, and her name is Claire Williams. They go or Charlie refers to something. There's a little chat. Yeah, there's a little chat here about something in Olivia's past that we really don't understand, but he does say,
happy birthday.
Today of all days that this happened, happy birthday. But anyhow, so they go to see Mr. Williams. I think his name was Ken. But they go see him, whose wife also was suffering from Bellini's and is now missing. And he describes the struggle with the disease, but she had went into remission 6 weeks ago. So we have another case where this incurable disease has gone into remission.
Oh, yeah.
But the girl is now missing. So, and the stuff with Charlie and Olivia, that little private aside, that starts to open up later. But Olivia's in constant grunt mode. We had, was it last episode or 2 episodes ago that Peter was just all pissy, and now now this
Olivia is off the reservation this episode.
Oh, she is just lit up.
I mean, she's just
she's constantly angry.
And she keeps checking people's heads off.
Yeah, she keeps checking her mail. So we'll find out more about that later. But yeah, so then we flash to we see Claire in what looks to be a lab, being monitored and experimented on. Her blood is taken. There's a discussion between who we learned to be the antagonist, Dr. What was his name? Dr. David Ester. I don't think he was a doctor, but David Esterbrook is our antagonist in this episode, and his assistant. Let me see if I've got her name on here.
Did they mention that in this portion?
They mentioned her name. I don't know if they did, but I've got the cast pulled up, so I was just going to throw out a name.
Okay.
But it doesn't look like they're going to give it to me. But, he has a little female assistant, and she's the one who does all the tests, really. Yeah.
And this is one of those scenes where also they kind of give a clue back to the first scene of the entire show, and that is that she's also being injected with a blue liquid. Yeah,
well, a red liquid, and then there's a blue liquid, and the guy Esterbrook tells his assistant, "This one counts."
Yeah, this one may be a candidate.
Yeah, is she a candidate? And his assistant says, "Even better." So ominous foreshadowing. Mm-hmm. But anyway, we have what is this? Oh. We have Walter's lab demonstration with Mr. Papaya.
Yes.
And he basically recreates what happened and the papaya explodes. Yeah. He believes that Emily was emitting microwaves, time-release isotopes, something released into her bloodstream made all the capsules burst at once. But yeah, and the hyacinths make him want blue cotton candy. That was the smell of hyacinths made him want blue cotton candy. But so they're now figuring out that it has to do with radiation, some sort of, again, time release, where something triggered her detonation.
And they actually mention strontium-90, which I think I've heard several times in other sci-fi and other things
really?
Listed.
I didn't catch that.
Yeah, they were saying that was the origin of the radiation.
Oh, okay.
Likely, was that was what she was being injected with.
Okay. So Peter and Olivia go to Emily's parents, which of course is awake, and Olivia is not having any of it. She demands to go in. She's behaving very aggressively. Peter is not impressed. Mrs. Kramer is not impressed when they find Olivia and Peter up in her room going through her things, and she's like, "I'm an FBI agent," and the lady's like, "This is my wake. We're mourning someone." But something she says gives Mrs. Kramer pause. But she knows, I know what it was. Olivia mentions that another girl is missing, Claire Williams, and Mrs. Kramer knew Claire. Mm-hmm. And so I don't think I mentioned it before, but Mr. Williams denied ever knowing Emily Kramer. And Mrs. Kramer has a photograph of Mr. and Mrs. Williams and Emily together. So they were all part of the same trial or whatever, the new drug, the new treatment that ended up healing them both. So let's see. So Walter determines time-release radioactive capsules. They decide they need to find other patients, and they want to know who the doctor was. Mm-hmm. Well, I guess maybe the mom knew that it was time-release radioactive capsules, that, little doses of radiation every now and then were going to be what, was the treatment. So they want to know if there are any other patients, and she said, I wouldn't know, you'd have to talk to the doctor. And guess who the doctor is? Dr. Patel, the guy who said that he didn't know anything about it.
Nadeem Patel.
Yeah. So. Yeah, Nadeem Patel. So they go back. Mm-hmm. We do get another glimpse of Claire and the I don't remember if it was the girl assistant or if it was an orderly or another gentleman, but somebody said red makes better and blue makes special. So the red one is what's curing them, but the blue one we assume is that's, don't chew into the microphone. We assume that is what is making them a weapon. So Patel doesn't believe he is responsible for what is going on. Olivia disagrees, but he points to Intrepis. It's a drug company that makes the stuff that the girls are treating themselves with. He ends up pulling a gun on her because can't remember all the stuff. He gives the name of the guy, gives the David Estabrook name. But
he mentions David Estabrook, and he says they Intrepis, and it's kind of this moment of fear, I think, of this company.
Yeah, you get the impression that, I knew as soon as he pulled out the gun that he wasn't going to shoot Olivia because he looked way too scared. So clearly they're holding something over him, or he believes them to be very powerful. Mm-hmm. And based on David Estabrook's behavior later in the episode, he believes himself to be very powerful. And so we ended up having Dr. Patel shot himself. So, which just made Olivia even upset, more upsetting, more angry. But so let's see. So she ends up, because he gave her the name of David Estabrook, she finds out that there is a fundraiser or some sort of an event that he's going to be. So she pretends to be a fan of Estabrook to get close to him. She basically assumes an identity, grabs a name tag off the table and goes her way. But
yeah, and this is where you really start to see her coming apart.
Yeah, because she's behaving in a way that is not safe at all. The guy, as they're talking, there's a little bit of a time skip, and he says, well, it isn't about the money, it is about the resolve. Well, this seems to tick her off, because she reveals who she is, comes at him with great aggression, starts making threats, and he makes them right back. Mm-hmm. And Broyles gets a phone call from probably Intrepis or one of Estabrook's legal people.
Legal people, and of course, pharmacies, you're like, they probably also got a hold of somebody at state level, and so politics, lawyers, everything's playing in. Yeah. And Broyles is ticked, and rightly so.
Yeah, because she did it without running anything by. Because I think, is this where we've watched so much TV since then? But is this where she says, "Is there anything else you'd like me to run by you?" And he's like, "Everything." Yeah,
and with her behavior, you're this. I can't blame him for saying that. I'm not a big Broyles fan in this series. I'm like,
I grow to love Broyles.
Yeah, but he's definitely not one of my favorite people. And this scene, I'm siding with him because she's treated her team like crap. Yep. She has she was slightly more cordial towards Charlie, but barely. She broke into a person's house during a wake. She has now falsified her, who she was to try and entrap a guy, thinks she's got him, right where she wants him. It obviously doesn't, because now the realization is he knows they're coming for him. He could make the order to kill the girl.
Yeah. She's behaving completely erratically, and she's still checking her mail. Every time she goes back to her desk, she's checking her mail. So we're going to find out real soon what that's about. But let's see. Yeah. As we go back to Claire, and a lab rat is released into the room with her, and she's crying and freaked out about the rat, and like, what are you doing? The rat gets up on the bed, and you see the rat. I think its eyes had started to bleed by the time. Its eyes had started to bleed as it sneaks under the sheet, and then you see the red, so its head exploded. Yeah. And she's like, "What's happening to me?" It's pretty. I was like, poor rat. So, but they remotely triggered the capsules that were in her bloodstream that caused the rat to destabilize, I guess. But anyhow, Esterbrook and his assistant, because he's been confronted now, he's like, we got to up this timeline. When will she be ready? She says she'll be stable by the morning. Call the clients and schedule delivery. So I don't think we really ever find out the specifics of that part of it, but apparently she's going to get delivered to somebody as a primed weapon.
Yeah.
So,
and so now we should be finally moving on to the scene.
Well, we're on to the scene where Olivia continues to be pissy, and Peter kind of gets in her face about it, and she apologizes and starts to go into some backstory. So we get what?
When you moved away from the mic that time, I couldn't hear you.
Okay. But yeah, so she's getting mad, and Peter gets up in her face about it, and she apologizes, and she goes into this backstory, which is, I don't know, this is kind of how the backstory has been given so far in the series, has been they have to get really angry, and somebody has to be like, hey, you're being a jerk.
Yeah.
Chill, what's your deal? And so I don't remember if that holds on, but I hope it stops, because I hate characters that are just we go an entire episode without knowing why they're upset.
Yeah, and I don't need to become a series trope where somebody's hacked off and we have to wait till near the end for us to find out why.
So she goes into the story about her stepfather, who was very abusive toward the mother. Beat the mother. Olivia got a gun from somewhere in the house, and when he came home, she shot him twice.
Yep.
But he didn't die. And got away.
And now every
year on her birthday, she gets a card, and supposedly from him, saying that, just as a reminder that I'm still out here and I'm still alive. Now we'll wrap that up, that part of the backstory by the end of the episode. We'll touch on that again. But, so let's see, what does it say here? My notes are in pink and purple, and it's hard to read.
Once she finishes her story with a stepfather, she then goes on. It's the Equestrian Center, and it's
Peter suggests going to Massive Dynamic, and she's like, heck no, I'm not going to those people. And so Peter's like, okay, bye. So he leaves, and he goes and finds, which I'm like, how in the world did he find Nina Sharp at this Equestrian Center? I mean, did he go to Massive Dynamic, or did he call her office, and her office was like, oh, she's riding some horses? Nah. I mean, it was kind of random. He walks up to her right as she's, finishing her little adventure out on the horse. But they talk about Esterbrook, because the reason why he said to go to them is because Intrepis, that drug company, is like one of the direct competitors of Massive Dynamic for as far as their pharmaceuticals, I guess, go.
Yeah.
So he's like, they're going to have dirt on him that no one else will, because that's one of their, rivals in the business.
And honestly, they would benefit from him going down.
Exactly. So Peter kind of plays a little manipulation of the business world here, and goes and talks to her. And she does her thing. Mm-hmm. She does the manipulation. Well, she does the, me and you used to spend a lot of time here, or we used to spend a lot of time together when you were a kid.
Like, what the heck?
Yeah, and she basically says, I'll give you the information you want, but you have to give me a favor. And we don't know what that favor is.
Nope.
I don't believe we find out at this, but suddenly Peter has a location for where all this stuff is going on. So they, let's see.
Well, and then it's Astrid and Walter.
Yeah.
And
well, yeah, he discovers why he's smelling hyacinth.
Mm-hmm.
And it was some sort of, I can't read my own writing, but it was methylglycanol or methyl, I don't know. But it was something, but it smells like hyacinths. So he realized what it was, and so he realized what he could do to stop it, to essentially an antidote. And he gives that to Olivia, and they race to the place while Esterbrook has already had his assistant set Claire to blow. Olivia runs up and she's like, I can't give this to you. I can't go in there with you because she's already off the charts, radiation-wise. And she's starting to bleed, I think, but Olivia puts it in a little pass-through in the door. And she's like, I need you to jam this into your neck. And eventually Claire does, and everything goes down, and the day is
thankfully.
saved.
It's one of those things where, even with that scene, there's this part of me that, I'm not versed in any of this kind of stuff, radiation whatsoever.
Yeah.
I mean, but I'm wondering, at that point, how much damage has been done, and even though you've saved her...
See, that's what I was thinking. I was like, you don't walk away from this kind of stuff, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking you're gonna need cancer treatments. You're gonna, all sorts of stuff. Because, I was actually looking it up over here while we're doing all this. And strontium-90 is a byproduct of fission, nuclear fission, and it's also tied to some of the damage that was done during Chernobyl to people.
Oh, okay. They might have mentioned Chernobyl.
Yeah.
During the, yeah, I stopped taking notes at that point, so I guess I thought that the story was over. But yeah, so she ends up saving the day. But yeah, of course, everybody seems to go on and live. I mean, we assume that Claire lives a happy life after that. Yeah. We really don't know. We never get any follow-up from the people they save in this. It's just like, oh, they're saved.
The wonder of modern science fiction.
Yeah. So but she goes home.
Mm-hmm.
She made it all day not getting a card, and she walks in, and there's a card under her door.
Yep.
And so she picks up the card. Now, the card is not signed. So I'm like, how does she know? I mean, I guess it's a gut feeling that he'd be the one to send her the unmarked card on her birthday.
The worst part for me looking at that card was it was not delivered by mail service.
No, it was just slipped under the door. He knows where she is.
Yeah. And I'm like, that's creepy.
Dun, dun, dun. So we've got some interesting things that we're learning about Peter. And some interesting things that we're learning about Olivia. Mm-hmm. Now, I think it's a while before we find out some of the really good stuff that I can't wait for John to learn. But I'm like, okay, we're seeing all this stuff. Where's it going? Where's it going? And I can't say anything about it because John's here and he's not seen anything yet. So
no, I haven't.
So as far as notable guest stars, David Esterbrook was played by Chris Eigenmann, I believe is how you say that. Mm-hmm. Emily Kramer was Maria Dizia. Claire was Marjan Nishat. If I'm saying these names wrong and you know these people or you know how to pronounce them, I'm so sorry.
I had looked them up. They were both very involved in theater in New York, I believe, is what I found.
Let's see.
Which I thought
Anybody
was really
else?
cool.
Oh, the waiter was Ben. And he was played by Scott Evans. He actually looked familiar. Let me see if he was in anything. I mean, he looks like your, he looks kind of like your, oh! Duh! That's why he looked familiar. He's Chris Evans' brother.
Oh!
I completely forgot. Captain America's brother, yeah. In real life.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah. Why?
He's Captain America's brother in real life?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, he's Chris Evans' brother, not Steve Rogers' brother. But yeah. Marjan Nishat, let's see, she was in RoboCop and Alfie and the show Quantico, which was on not that long ago, Person of Interest. Let's see here. What else I mentioned? Maria Dizia.
What about Patel?
Oh, no,
Dr.
him I did
Patel.
not open up. Let's look at him because I wasn't that interested. Let's see. Alok Tawari. Let's see. Law and Order SVU. He was in that. Oh, he's been different characters in that.
Okay.
House of Cards. He was in a few episodes.
It's pretty much character actor. Comes in, does a role.
The Blacklist. Yeah, unfortunately, in the Blacklist, his characters are Alliance member number 3 and Indian.
Wow.
Yeah. So, yeah, I'm not seeing anything that he was necessary. Okay, he was on 7 episodes of Guiding Light.
Oh, there you
So
go.
I mean, he's been on a lot of TV shows.
Okay.
Let's see, Maria Dizian. She looked familiar to me.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see.
Yeah,
what
both
has she
the
been in?
ladies. These are the ladies who their characters were the ones that had gotten the treatment and had
Maria
been abducted.
Dizia is Emily Kramer, and is she in anything that I know?
From
She
what
was on that series on Netflix. It looks like in one episode that was popular last year, 13 Reasons Why, the one that's getting ready to come back.
Okay.
An episode of... Oh, yeah, she was in Orange is the New Black. She plays Polly Harper.
Okay.
That's what I knew her from. But yeah, this was one of her earlier shows. She was also on Law and Order, 2 of them, Criminal Intent and regular one. But yeah. So yeah, I think I know her from Orange is the New Black. But then Chris Eigenman, he looked familiar, but I don't know if I've seen him. Let's see. Fringe is one of his more recent things. He was in Gilmore Girls. Chris Eigenman, Malcolm in the Middle. He played Lionel Herkeby or Herkeby. I don't know. I never watched that show. He was on an episode of CSI Miami. He's on 13 episodes of Gilmore Girls. So, I mean, he's kind of been around. The Outer Limits.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, he was in Oh, no, that's not the one I've seen. Kicking and Screaming. I was thinking of the Will Ferrell movie. This is something else.
Oh, okay.
But, yeah, I mean, again, TV faces that we've probably seen and just not really, fortunately, paid attention to. But he played a good bad guy.
Oh, he did.
I wanted to punch his face. But anyhow, that was that episode. Now, I do have some Walterisms. I don't know if you'd written any down.
No, I really, the onion soup thing got me, but I wouldn't consider that a Walterism.
No, that was just kind of cute. It's like with his blue cotton candy. I have opium, fantastic stuff, which is something that he said in the diner. But my favorite, I think, was when he's humming with the buzzing telephone wires or the electrical wires outside. He said, "Nothing sings like a kilowatt." And I thought that was kind of that's a classic Walter line there. Nobody else would ever say that.
Nope.
Not even electricians. But so yeah, that was the episode. Where do you think this is going?
This episode, I have no idea. Because, I mean, this episode kind of throws you off the trail of everything else that's happened. Because we've had some episodes that have given us lots of information. This one really built more on character dynamic. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm really curious about now Olivia's dad. Is he still alive? Is he a part of this conspiracy? What part will he play in the future, if he plays a part in the future? I'm wondering about Peter and, spending time as a child with
Nina Sharp.
Well,
we know that she works for William Bell,
and William
who
Bell
was very close with Walter.
Yeah.
So you never know. I did pull up some trivia. But yeah, this episode, I can see what you're saying. Yeah, because we have The Observer, that episode, or The Arrival. Yeah. And so we start seeing this bigger picture, and now we're back into just the,
this one,
the monster of the week or the conflict of the week kind of story, instead of anything that's really feeding our interest in what's going on overall.
Which, it could be very much something that J.J. Abrams was trying to do with this episode, was kind of, he did such a huge reveal, I feel, at that point. And then kind of it's very muted, and we're back to this small picture scene. And so, I mean, it might be part of the bigger story he's trying to tell to, kind of manipulate the audience a little bit. And, hey, I'm enjoying it, so I can't see.
So let's see here. Trivia. We always have the words that the word that the glyphs translate to at the breaks. This episode is cells. I need to look up and find out how they translate that, because I would translate it myself, but I have no idea. I mean, I see the little dot moving around, but I don't know what that means. The Observer does make an appearance, which I did not see.
Yeah, I didn't see him.
But he is at the forum walking past Olivia when she's talking with Mr. Esterbrook. So when she's faking, he's in that room somewhere, which that would be a classic scene to put him in, because he's always in a crowd. Okay, they do reveal the name of Esterbrook's assistant, which is Elizabeth Sarnoff, and a trivia tidbit is that she was one of the producers of the show Lost. Not the actress, but Elizabeth Sarnoff in real life was one of the producers of Lost.
That's a fun way to live on.
Now, this one doesn't make any sense to me, but I guess it's just one of those little quirky things that they threw in. But according to the letters on Holly's Diner's door, they serve breakfast instead of... Oh, they serve breakfast. I missed the F. So it's breakfast without an F instead of breakfast. So it's just a little whoops, I guess, on the door, or made it look a little bit more authentic. Because I always see weird little things, signs that have been misprinted. Let's see. And the other one, a hairless rat is placed in Claire's room and its brain explodes. Athymic nude rats are very useful in research because they have no T lymphocytes and thus no immune response. This is great for research and tissue transplantation. TV shows seem to like nude rats because they look extra freaky, so that's just an opinion. But but yeah, there's lots of goofs, but there's nothing big. But anyway, so that was episode 6, The Cure. When did this come out? I always list the release date. 21st of October, 2008. So we're working our way through it. This is actually a pretty lengthy first season. I think it's at least 20 episodes. So we have a long way to go. A lot of stuff to uncover. But anyhow, that's episode 6, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. If you would like to hear more, please join us next week. And again, find us on all of our social medias. John is at Passion Nerdly on Twitter and Instagram and everything else. And I am at RueWorks on both of those. And I think I'm at RueWorks. Well, no, I think it's just in those two places. But yeah, you can check out our Patreon at patreon.com/PassionNerdly, tpublic.com/PassionNerdly for t-shirts. And as always, check our website, PassionNerdly.com, for any news and updates. So with that, we bid you good night.
This has been a production of the Southgate Media Group. For more podcasts like this one, head over to southgatemediagroup.com.